That's Frazier Glenn Miller in a 2010 radio ad. To talk more about him, we're joined by two guests. In Montgomery, Alabama, Mark Potok is with us, senior fellow at the Southern Poverty Law Center, which tracks hate groups and had been following Frazier Glenn Miller for decades. Here in New York, David Pakman is with us. He's host of the David Pakman Show. He interviewed Frazier Glenn Miller in 2010. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! I want to go to a clip of our other guest today, David Pakman, interviewing Frazier Glenn Miller in April of 2010, when Miller was running for the U.S. Senate as a write-in candidate for Missouri. David Pakman asked Miller if he personally hated him.
Do you personally dislike me? So, like, could we get along even though I'm Jewish and you hate Jews? Like, do you have anything personal against me, or how does that work?
Yes, I hate all Jews.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. For me to say out of the one corner of my mouth that I didn't hate all Jews, and then out of the other corner of my mouth say that Jews caused the deliberate murders of over 300 million of my people during the 20th century alone.
Right. Okay.
Of course I hate you.
But
you've earned my hate.
That's the white supremacist who's charged in the Kansas killings, talking to David Pakman, who joins us now. David, you exchanged emails with Frazier Glenn Miller just months ago, that interview done in 2010.
That's right. Initially, we were in touch because Craig Cobb, another white separatist who was trying to create a whites-only community in one of the Dakotas, was friends, I guess, or that's at least what they would describe each other with Glenn Miller. Glenn Miller put me in touch with Cobb and then was trying to insert himself back into my program, asking that I interview him, when I explained that I have nothing against interviewing him in principle, but that there's really no news or there's no reason to interview him right now. He kind of resorted to the same anti-Jewish statements and rhetoric.
So talk about that first interview in 2010.
Yeah, the big difference, I interview a lot of extremists, anti-gay extremists, religious extremists, many extremists. The one difference with Miller versus all the others is that the others, while their rhetoric is incredibly discriminatory and hateful against huge groups of people, they're usually very nice to me, and sometimes they say they want to save me or they want to help me in some way. And in their internal logic, that's what they want to do. As you saw, Miller told me very directly that he hated me, and that was an outlier.
So these the most recent emails that he wanted to come on again, was there any indication of what he wanted to say?
Well, I've released these emails. They're on davidpakman.com. The full transcript is there so people can kind of judge for themselves. If I were to speculate a little bit and kind of characterize them, there was a desperation for attention, seemed to be the main priority. Just really wanted attention, wanted to be on. When I said, well, why would I have you on now? He said, well, I think I'm going to run for something again soon. And I said, well, let's talk at that time.
One of the emails said, as you know, your listenership, including the archives, skyrocketed after having me on your show. So don't say I'm not interesting, since I'll be a candidate next year for U.S. Congress, 7th District, Missouri. You can use that as a reason to have me on.
That's exactly right. And then he also explained that this was kind of a running thing with him, where before the interview in 2010, he said I would never run it because he would so badly embarrass me. Immediately after the interview, we recorded it earlier in the day before it aired, he said, you're not even going to publish that because I so embarrassed you. Of course, we did publish it, as it's now been widely disseminated, and that idea continued, that we were scared to have him on.
David Pakman, as we wrap up, when you heard who was involved with the killings, who was the shooter in Kansas, your thoughts having interviewed Miller?
Yeah, I heard about it in pieces. First, I heard about the shooting, and much later, it was Sunday night, I started getting tens and dozens of tweets from people saying, the shooter is the guy you interviewed. Of course, the interview was 4 years ago. It didn't immediately click. It was Kansas when I associated Miller with Missouri. Once I figured out what this was, initially I was just shocked, and then realized that this was the guy who spoke to me in one way and then took what he said, and it now became real-world violence, which of course was horrifying.
And to those who say, why give him a platform?
Right. Well, if I were giving him a platform in the way that corporate news gives non-science-based climate change ideas an equivalent platform, as if there is a 50-50 view, that would be wrong. That's not what I do. I have an opinion program. I bring these people on. It's abundantly clear that what I'm doing is exposing their views, and that's really why. Imagine if we had no video. We had, often we have these crimes, and then people say, we never heard anything. There's nothing. We don't know who this person is. Now we know.
David Pakman, I want to thank you for being with us. The David Pakman Show. David broadcasts on radio and television, on Free Speech TV as well. And Mark Potok, the senior fellow at the Southern Poverty Law Center, has been tracking Frazier Glenn Miller for years. We'll link to your reports at democracynow.org.